Good morning, welcome to the Morning Outlook. This is Kim speaking on Monday the 3rd of September. So as we run into September, what we got in store for us? Well, the euro dollar, it's having a little bounce by the looks of things off its daily 34 at the moment and 21 wrapped underneath there. We do have a couple of factors that may just draw us to the upside this morning, with the weekly pivot and daily pivot sitting above us, and it's been a bit slow. It looked like it was going to roll over a short while ago, and maybe some traders were already sitting there nicely short, but there's the potential for it to run up towards either that daily or weekly pivot. So just see how it moves this morning. There's not a lot of pips into that into the initial move into the daily, maybe a few more into the weekly, of course, but we'll see how it goes. But we have got that monthly pivot sitting below, so it's a day of pivots here, and what we can see, what we've seen in terms of price action with the lower highs, lower lows, may suggest we could see some more downside. Friday moved much further than I expected. In the end, we saw that 4 o'clock candle run even further, and it sold for a while there, and through that hour, and then consolidated. So at the moment I'm looking for a little bit of a bounce, maybe to sell into. I may not, well, I don't think I'll be trading at the bounce to the upside. I'm just going to be sitting here waiting for the short side and see if we can play part of that, even if it's down to the R1, but the monthly pivot's not that far beyond, so we'll see. Cable looking very weak this morning. It's Barnier back to his normal tricks, and suddenly there isn't a deal, or it may not be a deal, or a good deal. The deal's changed. I don't know, but cable all sold off there at the moment. Still in this it's pretty much downward trend, although as it broke that last week. To be fair, although not being massively convincing at the moment, it's just run back into that 50 and rolled over. Now, as we're looking at it from here, well, there is a gap on this market. In fact, the 60-minute will show you a bit easier. There's a bit of a gap there. Now there is a weekly pivot and a daily pivot above. Is the chance of coming up to those? Yeah, well, I wouldn't ever write them off. We're sitting here, well, we're sitting on support into the monthly pivot already. As I say, with the deals and the Brexit situation, it could be a risky one to be trading today. For sure, it's always a risky one to trade, but higher risk, should I say. Said it last week, we had risk with it a few times, and sure enough, we had risk with it a few times. Dollar yen, well, the yen, it's looks like there's a sort of everything else has moved down. The yen's moved down a little bit with it in terms of maybe seeing a bit of money going towards safety this morning. We'll see how this progresses. It's already touched the weekly pivot by the looks of things. Running to its weekly pivot, its daily pivot and monthly pivot all in one go. Good old yen. Consolidating where it is at the moment. We could see more of a continued downside here towards Friday's lows. Obviously, the daily S1 may get clipped on the way if that happens, or it may just run into that sort of level with the bodies of the candles on Friday. But at the moment it does look like we'll see a continuation of that, but funny things happen, and it may be just be worth being patient this morning. Now, just whilst I think of it, there is of course a US and Canadian bank holiday today, so things might be a little bit on the quieter side. Let's just carry on here though before. One thing I wanted to look at today, and I must look at more, I said last week and the week before I started looking at it more, is the euro yen. It's a pair that's we've had some really good runs in it lately in terms of trend, and if it's running in trend, there's nothing better than a bit of trend playing. Now it's a bit all mixed up here, and it's hard to see the price action here on this short term, but there we go. Short term, the dailies there, you can see it a bit clearer here. So I know there's a lot of overlaid pivots here, which is making it a bit messy. In fact, I'm going to come right down to the 60-minute time frame and look at what's going on. Now we can see last week, I mean, up until say last week, the week before last, actually. No, it was last week. Last week it turned, beg your pardon. But up until that point, we'd seen a really nice trend upwards. We've seen a bit of a correction action. It followed through what we saw on Friday on the euro, pushed right the way through, quite a few levels there, and certainly moved more than we saw on a euro, so maybe worth watching. But again, here we've got the weekly and daily pivots above, and I'd like to see those hit, and then possibly look to see if we can get more on the short side. I like this current downward trend. We'll see how it runs through there. If you was to be looking for the sort of some sort of retracement on the euro, well, euro yen may give us slightly, well, will give some more points. But again, my ultimate target, if it does bounce up to these levels over the weekly or even push through a little bit, would be trying to trade it back towards that monthly pivot, maybe. Just to see how it works. When you get up to these highs here, I say up to these highs, if it gets up to these levels up here, we just need to see if it's going to just push on through, in which case we'll just stand aside and leave it, or if it's give me some reversal signals. There's plenty of meat on the bone back down. But as I say, the euro yen seems to be a good currency at the moment. It's been behaving really well, good trends, and maybe partially because the way the yen's being used as a bit of a safety currency at the moment. So they're both moving together quite a lot. Okay, and giving us trends. Now Aussie dollar sold off through Friday again. It's one of the weaker players. Again, we've got we've got everything sitting above here at the moment. In fact, if I pull up the 60-minute time frame, there's the day. Hang on a minute, let's get it right way around. Daily, weekly, and monthly, all sitting above it. Does that cause it a draw to all the way up to those? I don't know. The Aussie dollar's in such a weak sort of place at the moment. Maybe at some point it's got a bit of divergence at the lows here. It's maybe get a bit more of a kicker from where it's sitting here and move up to some of these. But so often we see it in the morning, it just really doesn't want to do too much until later in the day, and it's up until 4 o'clock the other day before it really kicked off. And we see it's quite a lot, slight movements in the morning, but most of them are sort of late on 11 o'clock. So it's early movements on the Aussie dollar around midnight, 1-2 o'clock, and then it seems to consolidate. Well, let's just let it consolidate. That's what it's going to do. But these points here, they may in turn provide us some point of resistance and some shorting opportunities, but it's not a pair I like to day trade. But on a swing trade point of view, maybe we're seeing something here across, although it's not showing on the 4 hourlies. It's very negative on everything else. And let's just get whoops, wrong one. RSI would be nice. RSI, there we go. Not showing any signals anywhere else. It's just on that short-term movement there. So probably leave that alone. Well, we'll leave that alone. The Canadian dollar. Well, Canadian dollar still sitting in this channel effectively that is running through and down in. Broke out the trend line that I drew on Friday there. I think it was, I drew that, and it's very choppy where it's sitting. It may be coming back. It's got the monthly and weekly pivots sitting below it at the moment. So any retracement sell-off points, there may be targets sitting through there. Looks like there's a daily pivot there and the monthly pivot overlapped. This sort of lovely sort of potential setups here will draw people into this market, and then it'll probably do something completely different this morning. And remember, it's a bank holiday, so we probably won't have a lot of US traders coming through later in the day. So it could well just they're all in the Hamptons, so I don't think they're all going to be sitting there by the seats anyway. So this could do anything, and probably as much as a bit of a gap below and everything else, it may work off and come back to the daily, monthly pivot. But so often it gives people tricks them out there, so we'll see. But there was risk, and there is risk in terms of the NAFTA deal hasn't been, or Canada won't be, by the sounds of it, agreed to this new NAFTA deal that's being put together with Mexico. So there we go. It's lots of risk in that as well. Right. That's pretty much it for me today. News wise, there's not a lot out. There's beg your pardon, we have got some manufacturing PMI data for the UK at 9:30, so there's some more risk for the pound. That's it. Have a great day. Bye for now.